All right, everybody, welcome back. It's time for another deep dive. And today, oh boy, today we're going deep on something I know a lot of you have been asking about.
I think this one is pretty much universally fascinating.
It really is. It's time travel.
Yeah.
We are going to be talking all about time travel. And to guide us on this journey, we've got a fantastic ebook called Time Travel, Science or Fiction. And by the end of this, I think we're going to have a much better understanding of what's possible, what's still purely in the realm of science fiction, and maybe some of the really big questions that time travel raises.
Well, and I think what's so cool is that, the idea of time travel, it's not new. It's not some modern invention.
Right.
We've been telling stories about time travel literally for centuries.
Right. You think about all the myths and the legends. Ancient cultures had these ideas about manipulating time.
Oh, absolutely. The ebook actually mentions, I think it was some ancient Greek myths about mortals trying to outsmart the gods and mess with time.
Yeah. And it makes you realize that these stories about time travel, they're not just about, zipping around in a time machine.
No.
They're about something deeper.
But he really tapped into some fundamental human questions. Like, what is our place in time? Do we have free will? Can we escape fate? Big stuff.
That's the thing, right? It's like, it makes us think about what is reality, what is destiny.
Exactly.
All these big, heady concepts.
Well, and that's what's so cool about, literature and film. They keep exploring these ideas. You mentioned myths, but then you go to like H.G. Wells' The Time Machine. That's kind of like the granddaddy of modern time travel stories.
Oh, yeah. And that one really got people thinking about the future. What could technology do? Where could it take us?
And it wasn't just about the technology. It was about what happens to society, what happens to humanity when you introduce time travel into the equation.
Okay, so we've got the human fascination. We've been obsessed with time travel for a long time. But let's get down to brass tacks. Is any of it scientifically possible?
The million-dollar question?
Or is it all just fantasy?
That's where we have to bring in the big guns. Enter Einstein.
Einstein, of course.
His theory of relativity really threw a wrench in how we think about time.
Okay, yeah, relativity, I gotta be honest. Sometimes I get a little lost in the weeds with relativity. So can you break it down for us? How did Einstein change our view of time?
Sure. So think about it this way. Before Einstein, people thought of time like a river, flowing at a constant rate for everyone.
Okay, makes sense.
But Einstein comes along and says, nope, time is not like a rigid river. It's more like a flexible fabric.
A fabric?
Yeah, a fabric that can be warped and stretched by gravity. And that's where we get the concept of space-time. Space and time are woven together. They're not separate things.
Okay. Space-time I'm following so far, I think.
Good. Because here's the really mind-blowing part. This means that time can be manipulated. It's not absolute.
Manipulated. So you're saying we can actually change the flow of time?
In certain ways, yes.
Wow.
One example that's actually been proven, not just theory, is time dilation.
Time dilation.
Yeah,
Okay,
right.
I've heard that term. What is that exactly?
The ebook gives a really cool example. They talk about how atomic clocks on airplanes, they actually run a tiny bit slower than clocks on Earth.
Wait, so time actually slows down on an airplane because it's moving?
Exactly. Because of the plane's speed and its relative motion compared to the Earth, time is actually passing a tiny bit slower.
Okay, whoa. So does that mean we could, speed time up or even reverse it?
That's the big question.
Yeah.
And that's where we get into some really interesting, really mind-bending time travel theories.
Okay. All right. Lay it on me. What are the leading theories out there? The ones that maybe have a little bit of scientific backing or at least make you think, maybe just maybe this could be possible.
Well, the ebook dives into a few of the big contenders, and the first one that always gets people excited is wormholes.
Wormholes. Yeah, I've heard of those. What are they exactly?
Okay, so imagine you could create a tunnel through space-time, a shortcut.
A shortcut through time. Whoa.
Exactly. You could step through this wormhole and pop out at a different point in time.
I mean, that sounds incredible. But isn't there some kind of catch? Like some kind of super rare material we need to make it work?
You're remembering correctly. The catch is something called exotic matter.
Exotic matter.
And the thing about exotic matter is it has negative energy density.
Negative energy, does that even exist?
That's the problem. We haven't actually discovered it yet.
Okay, so wormholes might be a long shot for now.
Yeah, but the theory is still intriguing.
All right, so what's next on the list of time travel possibilities?
Another idea is something called cosmic strings.
Cosmic strings, what are those?
So imagine you have a perfectly flat sheet of paper,
Right.
and then you give it a little twist.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
That's kind of what a cosmic string would be like. It's a defect in space-time, a wrinkle left over from the Big Bang.
So these cosmic strings, they could actually warp time.
Well, the thinking is that these twists in space-time, they could create something called closed time-like curves.
Closed time-like curves. That sounds intense. What does that even mean?
It means essentially a loop in space-time, a path that circles back on itself.
So you could travel through time and end up back where you started.
Theoretically, yes. But again, we're talking about things that are still very theoretical. We haven't even proven cosmic strings exist yet.
Right, right. But still, pretty cool to think about.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've got wormholes, we've got cosmic strings, and I know there's another big one that we have to talk about, quantum mechanics.
Ah, yes, quantum mechanics. That's where things get really weird.
I'm ready to get weird.
Because at the subatomic level, the rules of classical physics, they kind of go out the window.
Okay.
And some interpretations of quantum mechanics, they actually suggest that time might not be linear at all.
Wait, hold up. Non-linear time. What does that even mean? Like, time could be going in multiple directions at once.
It's a very mind-bending concept,
Wow.
and it's still very much up for debate among physicists.
I can imagine. So I'm getting the sense that there are a lot of possibilities when it comes to time travel, but also a lot of challenges and unknowns.
Absolutely. We're really just scratching the surface of understanding time and how it works.
It's like we've got all these puzzle pieces, but we're not quite sure how they all fit together yet.
Exactly. And the more we learn, the more we realize how much more there is to learn.
Yeah, and it's not just about the physics, right? Time travel raises a whole bunch of philosophical questions, too.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Like, think about it. What if you could see the future? What would that do to your sense of free will?
Yeah, that's a great point. If you know what's going to happen, do you really have any choice in the matter?
And then there are the ethical implications.
Yeah, the ebook mentioned that. Like,
Mm.
even small changes to the past could have huge ripple effects in the future.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder, do we even have the right to mess with history, even if we could? And there's also this concept of temporal identity.
Temporal identity, what's that?
It's this idea of if you travel back in time and change your past, are you still the same person? Does your identity change along with your past experiences?
Wow. Yeah, that's a deep one.
It makes you really think about the nature of self and continuity through time.
It's no wonder that time travel has been such a popular theme in movies and books for so long. It makes us grapple with some pretty fundamental questions about who we are and our place in the universe.
Absolutely. And speaking of pop culture, I don't think we can talk about time travel without mentioning a certain iconic film.
You're talking about Back to the Future.
Of course. That movie took these abstract concepts from physics and made them entertaining and relatable.
Totally. I mean, it made time travel seem almost tangible, even if the science is a bit Hollywoodized.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
But the point is, it got people thinking about paradoxes and alternate timelines.
Yeah, like the grandfather paradox. That one always blew my mind.
Ah, the classic.
You go back in time and accidentally prevent your own grandparents from meeting. So you're never born. But if you were never born, how could you have gone back in time in the first place?
A perfect example of how messing with the past can create these mind-bending contradictions.
And it really makes you question, is time travel even possible without creating some kind of temporal disaster?
Well, that's a debate for the ages.
And speaking of paradoxes, the bootstrap paradox is another one that always gets me thinking.
Oh, yeah. That one's a real head-scratcher.
Remember the example from the ebook, the time traveler who gives Shakespeare the manuscript for Hamlet?
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
So did Shakespeare actually write it, or did it always exist in this weird time loop?
It's like the play came from nowhere and everywhere at the same time.
It really highlights how complicated and potentially messy time travel could be.
Oh, kidding.
Yeah.
Messing with the timeline is not for the faint of heart.
Yeah, you got to be careful what you wish for.
Exactly. Especially when it comes to time travel.
Yeah, it really makes you wonder if messing with the past is even worth the risk.
Right. Like, who knows what kind of unintended consequences you might unleash.
Talk about a butterfly effect.
Exactly. And it brings us to kind of a crucial question. Are there any solutions to these paradoxes? Or are we just doomed to create temporal chaos if we ever figure out how to build a time machine?
Well, the ebook did mention parallel timelines. Could that be a way out of these paradoxes?
It's a possibility. Some physicists believe that maybe time travel doesn't change our past. Instead, it creates branching timelines.
So, like, if I go back and change something, it doesn't change my past. It creates a whole new timeline.
Exactly. The original timeline remains untouched.
So no grandfather paradox?
Okay.
Because I'm only affecting an alternate version of myself.
That's the idea. It gets rid of some of those messy contradictions.
Okay, I can get behind that. That makes me feel a little better about the whole time travel thing.
It definitely simplifies things. But even if parallel timelines are a thing, we still have to face the enormous practical challenges of time travel.
Yeah, like how are we going to find that exotic matter to make those wormholes work?
Right, and then there's the whole issue of the energy requirements.
Mm.
We're talking astronomical amounts of energy.
It sounds like we're still a long way off from hopping in a DeLorean and zipping back to the Jurassic period.
Realistically, yes. But that doesn't mean we should stop exploring the possibilities.
I'm with you on that. So what does the future of time travel research look like? Are there any promising areas that scientists are focusing on?
There are a few areas that are really exciting, like quantum computing is making huge leaps.
Right, I've heard about that. How does that tie into time travel?
Well, quantum computers, they might give us the tools to really understand and manipulate the fabric of space-time at a much deeper level.
Interesting.
And then there's gravitational wave detection. That's a whole other area where we're making incredible progress.
I remember when they first detected those gravitational waves. It was a huge deal.
It was a game changer. And by studying these waves, we can learn so much more about the nature of gravity and how it affects space-time.
So it sounds like there's still hope for us aspiring time travelers.
Never give up hope. With enough collaboration between scientists, philosophers, and engineers, who knows what we might achieve?
I love that optimism. Even if practical time travel is still a long way off, it's inspiring to think about the possibilities.
It really is. And I think the journey of exploring these ideas is incredibly rewarding in itself.
I agree. This deep dive has been a real eye-opener. And you know what else I found really helpful? All the pop culture references in the ebook. It made some of these complicated concepts much easier to grasp.
Oh, I agree. Pop culture does a great job of visualizing these abstract ideas.
Totally. Like in Interstellar, the way they showed that wormhole as the spherical tunnel through space, it just clicked for me. It made me understand what a wormhole might actually look like.
And sometimes those visuals are what we need to spark our imaginations and make us think about the possibilities in new ways.
It's not just about entertainment, it's
Mhm.
about pushing the boundaries of what we think is possible.
Exactly. And it highlights how time travel is a concept. It transcends different disciplines. It's not just physicists who are fascinated by it.
Right. It's philosophers, writers, filmmakers. Everyone seems to be drawn to these questions about time and what it means for our existence.
It's a fascinating intersection of science, philosophy, and art. Time travel makes us think deeply about who we are and our place in the universe.
Speaking of deep thinking, you teased a final thought earlier. I'm dying to hear it. If time travel were possible, where would you go? And why?
That's a tough one. There are so many possibilities.
Mm.
But if I had to choose, I think I'd go back to ancient Alexandria.
Ancient Alexandria. Wow. Why there?
Can you imagine walking through the Library of Alexandria, seeing all those scrolls and manuscripts, being surrounded by the greatest minds of the ancient world?
It would be like stepping into a time capsule of knowledge.
Exactly. To witness firsthand that explosion of learning and discovery. It would be incredible.
That's an amazing choice, to be a fly on the wall during that golden age. It would be fascinating.
I think it would be a humbling and inspiring experience,
Mm.
and it really speaks to the power of time travel. To not just read about history, but to actually experience it, to step into the past.
To walk in the footsteps of those who came before us.
Exactly. And to maybe learn something that could help us in the present.
I love that. So, to our listener, we leave you with this question. If you could travel through time, where would you go? What moment in history calls to you?
What mysteries would you unravel? What wonders would you behold?
I mean, it's a question that could keep us talking for hours.
Right.
Right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
There are so many moments in history that I would love to visit.
Hmm.
It's tough to choose just one.
Yeah. It really makes you think about what's most important to you, what mysteries you'd want to solve, what people you'd want to meet.
Exactly. And even if we never actually achieve time travel, just the act of thinking about it, it opens up our minds to new possibilities.
I completely agree. This deep dive has been a wild ride. Wormholes, paradoxes, the Library of Alexandria. It's been amazing.
It really makes you appreciate how much we still don't know about time, about history, about the universe.
And it makes you realize how much potential there is for discovery out there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what I find so exciting. The journey of exploration. It never really ends.
It's like we're just scratching the surface of what's possible.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe someday time travel won't be science fiction anymore.
Maybe it'll be a reality. And we'll be able to visit those historical moments firsthand.
Wouldn't that be something? To actually walk through the streets of ancient Rome or to see the pyramids being built?
It would be incredible. But until then, we have the power of our imagination and the amazing work that scientists and researchers are doing to keep pushing the boundaries of what we know.
Exactly. So to our listener, don't let this deep dive end here. Keep exploring. Keep asking questions. Keep wondering about the possibilities.
Yeah, pick a point in history that fascinates you. Do some research. Maybe even write your own time travel story. Let your imagination run wild.
And who knows? Maybe you'll inspire the next big breakthrough.
It's a big universe out there, full of mysteries waiting to be uncovered.
Absolutely. And time. Well, time is just one of those mysteries.
Well said. Thanks for joining us on this journey through time. It's been a blast.
It's been a pleasure, as always.
Until next time, keep looking up and keep questioning everything.